Hey, what's going on, everybody? You got JT here, we've got David, and we've got C-Will for another episode of The Next Block. It is currently block 20,822,747. How you guys doing?
Doing good.
I'm good, man. I'm just happy to, be back at it with the squad.
Hell yeah, back at it with the squad. All right, for anyone tuning in right now, let us know if you got anything to say down in the chats, anything you want us to discuss, any questions you have for us, let us know. And yeah, let's jump in it from there. What are you guys seeing out there? Do you want to jump right into our discussions, or do you want to have a general chat first?
Well, let's general chat.
General chat. All right. I always want to jump right into FIFA, but let's
Makes sense. Let a couple more people roll in. We don't have too many people on the stream yet, so
fine,
let a couple more people roll in. So yeah, how you guys doing?
Man, as y'all was saying, I'm recovering. I survived the vid.
Surviving the vid.
Yeah. So just to put that out there, y'all, I've been doing bad, and now I'm back, feeling good. The market, is looking how I was feeling for a second.
Yep.
Yeah, I felt like, obviously I was on vacation for the past week. We were up and visiting family, and so it was a good breath of fresh air. But still, it was like I was expecting to have a 5 days of not really having to worry about looking at my phone and tweeting and seeing everything. And then obviously Algorand comes out here and starts putting out some of the most bullish partnerships and like dropping news like every couple hours. So I was definitely feeling a little jealous of being away from my computer, not being able to record anything.
Yeah.
I know you said you wanted to hop on and make a video about FIFA, but yeah, it is what it is. I made one for anyone that wants to check out that video.
There you go.
I made one too, and it was I had to put something out. I was feeling like David. I was FOMOing on my YouTube channel.
Yep. I feel like all of us had that same. It was like, well, we either buy a lot of Algorand or we at least try to make a video and get some views or something. But
yeah, get some hype. I will say, what's his name? Guy, obviously from Coin Bureau. He just posted not too long ago about. He wants to do another Algorand video, so that's good. I'm always
hopefully it's a good video because
I know
the thing is I like Guy. I think he puts out a lot of good content, but a lot of his Algorand videos, except for his latest one, although it has been a while now, but the last one he did was relatively fair. But a lot of the first couple mentions that Algorand has gotten on his channel were, in my opinion, a little unfair. But it is what it is.
I mean, I feel like it's even though I don't, some of this is not known and it's speculation.
Hey, shout out one NFT for these great NFTs.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Shout out the one NFT.
But so many of the YouTubers that are big, BitBoy Crypto, Altcoin Daily, obviously even Guy, they're paid. They're paid, BitBoy Crypto, to get mentioned, your crypto mentioned on his channel, they charge you. So there is a point where I'm not saying Algorand's paying Guy to do it, or, if BitBoy Cryptos, if he mentions Algorand, that he's being paid every single time, but, they do have incentive, obviously, just like we do, to talk about Algorand, because we're bullish on it. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but, there is, I've always wondered is the reason why there's so much negativity or so much criticism towards things like Cardano or Algorand or some of these newer layer ones that are, green, not as energy, carbon negative, carbon neutral, whatever it may be, faster, cheaper. I kind of wonder if some of these just get such a negative light because most of those YouTubers, most of these people who have the main influence are, they already have their bags packed of Ethereum and Bitcoin and the ones that are maybe, on the other side of the aisle or the other side of the argument. So I feel like it's hard to, you don't want to bash, you don't want to put, I guess, Algorand on too high of a pedestal because then you might have people, not wanting to go do Ethereum or, some of the others.
No, I think that's a good point. All those guys, from my understanding, it was all around 2017, 18 market. Mm-hmm. And then they had to build because Algorand was not around. So they had to build on ETH and Bitcoin. And then they actually did it successfully. I remember in 2020, when I first started watching BitBoy Crypto's channel, he had 100,000. Now he's at 1 million followers. So I seen him 10x when we had the last bull run. So it only makes sense that they're tapping into what made them big. For us, Algorand is my biggest community.
And even if people aren't being paid under the table to pump certain coins, I mean, you have to think about it. Even I forget who said it. I don't know if it was from Arlington Capital or whoever at Decipher, but even somebody on the stage made a great point that essentially what you do is you make your investment and then you do everything in your power to make sure that investment wins.
Yeah.
And in an essence, that's kind of what we're doing too. I mean, we love Algorand, and then we were like, okay, let's start Algorand YouTube shows to get the word out there. I mean, partially, I mean, to a degree, we're operating in the same way. I mean, you know what I mean? If Algorand moons because of our content, it benefits not only our channels, but also our bags. So, I
Yeah,
don't know.
I mean, it's definitely the network effect. You know, we have to,
Yeah.
you know, there has to be a soundboard for it to get out there to the masses, and obviously, you know, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
On that note, let's move on to the Algorand FIFA news. That was some pretty giant news. I mean, for anybody that is unaware, I'm not sure how you'd be unaware at this point if you're following Algorand, but probably the biggest partnership, not only for Algorand, but really all of crypto. It's soccer or football is a 5 billion person fan base around the world. You know, the World Cup in 2018 at least, the statistics were 1.1 billion people tuning in at least at one point during the World Cup, which is absolutely amazing. So I think this is a huge deal. What do you guys think?
Oh
I
yeah, I
think,
mean,
yeah, go ahead.
you go ahead. You can go ahead, see Will.
No, I think yes, like because people like 1 billion people, and what we got about 8 billion in the world. That is a crazy number. And as we, you know, reading the articles, we made our videos, but a technical partnership is not a sponsorship. So this is much deeper. They have the digital strategy that they'll be implementing for FIFA, which means technically up to 5 billion people that are going to need to have some type of digital strategy. Even as we said, like if a quarter of them need a wallet, they have to then go to Algorand. That's what I'm getting out of all of this, is that Algorand is a key player now in FIFA's digital strategy, which is more important than a banner on a arena or anything of that nature.
Yeah, I mean, and not only just looking at the the news release, not only will it be for the World Cup in 2022, but also the regional supporter in North America and Europe for FIFA Women's World Cup Australia and New Zealand 2023. So Algorand's name will be on the pitch. You'll see it out there, on the banners and stuff all around the stadium, which is cool for just subliminal messaging. Even like people who maybe don't even know crypto and know blockchain, like they're going to be just like you can look at something and you see the name Coke sitting on the table, like it's even without thinking it's making a difference, it is, and you're seeing those things and you're consuming that. So that alone will be amazing. But like you said, Seal, what I'm super excited about is the technical partnership. Right there in that first paragraph, it says that the agreement means Algorand will become the official blockchain platform of FIFA and provide the official blockchain supported wallet solution. So you're right there. You're looking at millions of wallets possibly created. We did just see over the last day about another million or so new wallets created that came online. I'm waiting to see the nodes update. If I know that they're doing some testing right now or some maintenance, but I'm excited to see how that's going to kind of continue to go up. I'm guessing to make sure that the network doesn't lag with all the new activity that's going to be coming on it. And I'm eager to see what you guys think is your most bullish side of this news break. But my most bullish thing that I'm super excited about, and this again goes back to just me being someone who likes playing video games. I loved, and I don't play it as much anymore. Mainly played it back home, but FIFA, the video game. And so with this technical partnership, one of the biggest things, if you're someone who plays FIFA, is FIFA Ultimate Team. Now, FIFA Ultimate Team is where they have a currency where you buy in the game and you spend that currency on getting new players, opening packs, like all those things that, any, new game has to do to compete with, buying the game once is not enough. They want to make sure you buy it and then you continually spend money all throughout the year on buying new players, buying upgrades and things like that. And not only could they factor in some type of way to, use algo in the game in some way. I don't know if that would ever come through, but I do think they could make NFTs in FIFA Ultimate Team and make that something that could be purchased on the blockchain. You could own it, because that's the whole point of it, is there's only a set amount of things in FIFA Ultimate Team, and owning them and having Messi or having Ronaldo on your team is huge, especially if you get a gold edition or a special World Cup edition where maybe he scores a goal and they make a special commemorative card or NFT for you to get. I mean, that right there is huge for transaction volume. It's huge for adoption and getting people to use Algorand who maybe wouldn't be, using crypto.
Hey JT, can you pull this comment up with Algo Nice? This is just the perfect point why this, makes a great deal for FIFA right here. Comparing Sol to Algorand, and we do know Solana went down. Like when I made my video, I was talking about ETH and Solana because they did not get chosen, but just right there, 4.5 seconds finality and damn near non-existent fee makes sense for people that are in an emerging market to use Algorand, as David said, for FIFA characters and anything of that nature. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and it's cool because the finality is going down by about half. But
Uh,
David, did you see this thread by Michel from C3 Protocol earlier?
I did not.
Because he made pretty much the same exact point you're making. I'll do a quick read of it. And he says the market is underestimating how big the FIFA and Algorand technical partnership is. Just look at some basic stats in extra content sales of Ultimate Team, a game mode of their popular game EA Sports FIFA, as you were stating before. And let's see. Here are some of the stats right here. And this is revenue in US dollars. In 2021, it's like $1.6 billion.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely insane. And you follow this down a little bit more, 1.6 billion spent annually by players in extra content sales and growing. Imagine how big an on-chain version of this could be. Just the in-game marketplace transacts and a massive amount of value every day in player cards. He went on to say a couple things, but somebody made the comment that it's EA's game, not FIFA's game, so it's likely to not happen. However, I posted what's really interesting is the president of FIFA hinted at the MILKEN Institute talk, which we'll get to, at using the blockchain for the FIFA video game, and that, quote, EA will no longer make official licensed FIFA games since FIFA are looking to produce their own football title, while EA will be rebranding their EA Sports FC. So essentially, FIFA will be off the hook. They'll be able to create their own game. And then here's
so it'll be called FIFA FC. So it's gonna be like kind of competing games.
Well, EA won't be able to use the FIFA name anymore. FIFA's taking their brand away from EA, so they'll be able to build their own games. They could create FIFA whatever, and they could build it using Algorand, which is kind of amazing. And there's an article linked right here as well. So if anyone wants to check that out, definitely go ahead.
I'll have to do a little bit more research, but I already know. I mean, obviously, EA FIFA is the biggest title right now when it comes to soccer video games. But there already was a couple years back another video game producer making another type of soccer game and whatnot. And obviously, it didn't have.
There's plenty of soccer games, but it's the FIFA name that EA was relying on.
What's the main platform that people are playing FIFA on? PlayStation, Xbox? What we got?
I have really no idea.
One of those two. I mean, obviously PC, you can play it as well, but I would assume it's probably PlayStation or Xbox. But I mean,
that's the thing where it'll be tough to integrate a blockchain into PlayStation. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the gameplay is not what happens on the blockchain. It's just for like the transactions and whatnot.
Yeah.
So like, anytime that you're buying in-game content, that could be an actual NFT on the blockchain or, what have you. There's so many different transactions that can happen within a game. The gameplay itself would still be run normally. It's just it's just the part of the game that you'd want to have a distributed ledger for, essentially.
Just imagine pulling up Ultimate. Obviously, I'm thinking back to when I played it. You pull up FIFA Ultimate Team, and in the top right or somewhere on the screen, you have a Connect Wallet button where you can connect your crypto wallet, your Algo wallet, whatever it is, Para Algo wallet, and you would be able to then house your money there instead of the way they do it, where the kind of the Web 2.0, where you buy this currency, you buy the player, but you don't own it. If they pull the game, you don't own anything. You don't have that card anymore. If the game just goes offline, it's gone. Whereas if in the Web 3 stance, you could buy the Messi card for something that he does, and it's a special one, and it could be worth something. You have it in your wallet. The FIFA game goes down. There could still be a marketplace where you could still sell that, and that could be worth something.
A FIFA jersey, I can't remember the player's name, but his sold for $9 million so it's the highest selling jersey. It just beat out Babe Ruth recently. It's like always right on time. That soccer is like, hitting mainstream, or football. as they say around the world. But yeah, what's up
Right.
with that? Why don't we just call it football?
NFL.
It's like the same argument. Like, why don't we use the metric system? I mean, the world will never know, to be honest. Um,
Yeah,
but
but
yeah,
I
no,
think
that's
again for NFTs and fans, like even like if they NFT tickets,
Hmm.
like front row ticket will be
mhm.
worth something. Like all of those type of things, I think it makes total sense.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a it's a perfect segue to, we can just talk more on the Milken Institute conversation because the president of FIFA had mentioned all of these things. He mentioned using NFTs for tickets. He also gave a little nugget that he didn't expand on, but I caught it, and he was talking about like essentially turning the players into assets, which would be really interesting. I don't know how it would work, but you could sort of imagine like years down the line being able to actually like invest in these players, and then like as they're getting paid more, you get to like share in that revenue or some sort of
Oh,
model like
That'd
that.
be interesting.
it's like
Exactly.
that's
So
like at the loft, or excuse me, like a Opolis type thing. Yeah,
exactly. But
yeah,
it just opens up so much possibility that might not happen right off the bat, but at least like people are able to imagine and start building it. It is really interesting.
Do we
Yeah.
have a timeline on this partnership? I know it's for the event coming up in November, um, and the women's FIFA's what every 4 years,
The World Cup is every
4 years,
4 years. Or it's
4 years.
either four or eight, but I think it's 4.
So we got at least 4 years. This is huge, and also during November, the ISO 22 bank tokens, I
Yep.
guess, go live. So this is like at the same time as the World Cup, and Algorand is one of those tokens. About to
So
be
are we putting our tinfoil hats on that
oh,
something's
yeah, something is coming this winter. Y'all prepare yourselves.
That is actually a good topic of discussion, maybe
Yeah,
for another day, because there's
it's a lot to talk.
it's ISO uh, uh,
20222 or something.
it's there's two zeros in there. There's 20022, and essentially all it is basically a set of standards that basically all of the central banks in the world are going to adopt. That is, it's a standard that SWIFT is going to adopt essentially, and SWIFT is like the main way that all of these central banks transact. Um, and there are like five cryptocurrencies that are meet those ISO 20022 standards, and one of them being Algorand. And it also just so happens too, which is eerily bizarre, but if you look at the 4 year cycle, the 4 year Bitcoin cycle, which a lot of people think is going to be disproven, but it hasn't been yet. If you look at the cycle, it actually shows that a bottom would happen around November of this year, right when those standards go live. So that's a really interesting thing to be on the lookout for.
That's what I was about to say. The big reveal is a 50% drop and everybody getting liquidated right before we start turning really bullish and
That could happen
like
between now and then for sure.
yeah, like Silvio said, speculation turns into use case. Because another cool thing that I thought with the FIFA partnership, and I think it played into it, especially with where the World Cup is being held, is that Algorand is Sharia compliant.
Yep.
And it has that. So I think that's what also allows it into so many more markets that certain cryptos maybe are not. Now, I do not have a list of, what cryptos meet that compliancy, but I still think that, Algorand's doing all the right things,
Yep.
and it's taking its time to, set a good foundation for what can be built on it.
Yeah, that Sharia compliance is huge. That I was, the article I read about that happened in 2019. So like right off the top, they were being prepared to do that, which is they can invest in, or Islamic states can then invest. It fits their religious rights and all the things that matters for them. So that's why I believe FIFA is also, tapped in with that, because I think FIFA got like 200 countries being involved. And then I know the eastern part of the world, a lot of Muslim countries need that compliance. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
this
I
is
think
big.
I think you're mostly right with why FIFA chose Algorand, because even if you listen to the president speak at that Milken Institute, he basically, I mean, I'm sure there was a team that evaluated it, but he said straight up like he doesn't really understand technology. So like it wasn't.
Yep.
I mean, of course it's a good technology, but it wasn't solely based on that decision. It was all. I mean, of course anyone's going to say this in front of a live audience, but he did say that it's because Algorand aligns with their values more than the other chains that they evaluated. So
Yeah, even in the excerpt, it shows this is what he said. He said, "We're delighted to announce this partnership with Algorand. The collaboration is a clear indication of FIFA's commitment to continually seeking innovative channels for sustainable revenue growth for future reinvestment back into football, ensuring transparency to their stakeholders and worldwide football fans, a key element of their vision to make football truly global. And they look forward to kind of answer your question, Will. They look forward to a long and fruitful partnership with Algorand. And then the chief business officer was quoted saying, this announcement is an exciting moment for FIFA as it officially enters into the world of blockchain and the opportunities this presents across various applications. At FIFA, we must constantly strive to identify and explore the most cutting edge, sustainable, and transparent means of increasing revenues to continue to support global football development. And it says Algorand is clearly a forward-looking, innovative partner that can help us achieve these goals. I mean, I just feel like it's everything that we like about Algorand. Businesses are going to like those things even more. And that's the reason why when you look at stuff like Solana and Ethereum and some of the other more popular chains that are out there, you know, they're not going to have some of these partnerships, at least not right now. Now, obviously, if Ethereum ever does get to the point where its fees are very cheap and it's, you know, more green and things like that, then yeah, I think there would definitely be some competition there. And if Solana ever gets itself figured out where it's not going down for days at a time and crashing over people trying to make some monkeys and bears, then, you know, maybe people will look to build on there.
You know, this is another good segue, honestly, because, you know, there was a great question asked of Silvio at the Milken Institute, and in my opinion, it was the only answer he gave that I wasn't satisfied with. And that question was, how do you prevent blockchain spam? Like, how do you, because one of the issues with these cheaper blockchains is you can have these bots that can afford to send tens of thousands of transactions at once, millions of transactions, or whatever it might be, because it's so cheap to do so, and then overload the blockchain, kind of like what you're seeing on Solana. And, you know, Silvio's response was, we just have to increase the TPS capacity. But I don't think that solves the issue, to be honest. And I would like a more satisfying answer from that. I don't know if maybe Paul Regal or somebody else could eventually give a better answer if he could be pressed a little bit more on that. But because I've always had that same thought too, because it is, you know, I personally do believe Algorand will be fine, but it hasn't been stress tested. What does happen when we start getting 10,000 transactions, 11,000 transactions? What happens if we do experience like a minute or two of downtime because of some sort of spam? Like, you know, I would just like a little bit more clarity on how Algorand does plan to prevent these spam transactions, because they are more possible on the cheaper chains because it's so cheap to do so.
Yeah, so what they're doing is basically creating a bot to like mint or do a, you know, an activity, right?
I mean, there's all sorts of ways to do it, but it's essentially the concept, the idea behind it is it's just so cheap to transact, and the blockchain can only handle so many transactions in a block, so many transactions a second. But if you in one bot or a bunch of bots are creating that entire load, you know, what happens to the blockchain?
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
Another thing to point out too that I was little curious is on when the guy was asking Silvio about like who owns the blockchain. He's basically brought up VCs, and Silvio kind of just said, hey, we took a few $1 million forward, then we went to 70 million so we can have a complete product. But it didn't quite clearly answer the question of who's actually owning it.
You know, yeah, Chase brought up a good point to what I was saying, and I actually did see this maybe like a month or two ago, and I should reread it to probably give myself more clarity on that question. Maybe it's a good topic for conversation in another episode when we can dig more into that. But yeah, to your point too, I did hear that question. That was the question about like the VCs that bought in. I mean, I understand the question and the concern, but I also understood Silvio's response was like, well, we needed funding to get this off the ground. So like, I don't know.
Which is real. Yeah. And 70 million is not that much in the grand scheme of things. No.
Yeah.
But yeah, you gotta, you know, you gotta make sure your blockchain works. That's more important than who owns it.
Yeah, I definitely do
Yeah,
wonder.
and to be clear too, it's sorry, real quick, it's not, even though they're investors in it, they don't own the network. I mean, before these metrics went down, you could see that there's like 4,000 nodes now. So like, even if Algorand and the Algorand Foundation went away, the blockchain would still be running. It would probably not be great for development because they are the ones that are dishing out all the money. They know the most about building on it. So it probably would hurt development in the ecosystem, but the technology itself would still exist and people would still be free to build on it, you know?
Yeah, and and to come down to it, I feel like with what we're going towards, what, 45,000 transactions with 2.5 second finality. If it gets any faster or better than that, bots will be, I believe, defeated, because every second we'll have, I guess every 2 seconds, a new opportunity to do our transactions.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do feel like, not fear, but I think that it's kind of a blessing in disguise that Algorand maybe doesn't have the amount of attention that we want it to have right now. Like, obviously, we want it to be,
Yeah, I need my bag
growing
bigger.
faster. Yeah, we want to see more transactions. We want to see the price going up. We want to see more people getting excited and building on it. But kind of being in the background right now and building, like I said, creating that good foundation does kind of give it the ability to have, like JT said in past episodes, have the upgrade even before you really need it, just so when you get there you're ready for it. And so, because obviously the upgrade we're about to get is just a 10,000 TPS per second and then 2.5 second finality. And even Paul Regal in your interview was saying that they're not, it's not like right when they get to 10,000 they're like, all right, let's punch out 40, 45, 46,000. Like, they're going to do it as that need arises. And I think that's good, because that means once they get this upgrade done, I would assume the next thing that the Algorand Inc. and the tech team is going to be working on is to make sure that the blockchain is still secure, that it hopefully can resist, spam and bots and a lot of these things, and make sure it has the most robust products to offer, the partnerships that we're seeing. Because, just like Ethereum, it's full of, people who are early and degens and, VCs that are just trying to flip money as quick as they can, as you see with the land sales and crashing and all this stuff happening. Whereas like Algorand's actually trying to build something that's going to be used every day for, the foreseeable future. So they really do have to make sure that they dot their I's and cross their T's.
I do like, my final comment is, like, I do like what Silvio said, the multi-blockchain world, because Algorand is a transactional blockchain. And that totally makes sense. Or, like, I don't know, I guess something like Solana to do what it wants to do, it might not be for transactions.
Yeah, I liked his answer. It was actually really funny because the question he was asked was essentially, uh, does Algorand want to win, or is it going to be a multi-chain world? And he did honestly say right off the bat, is like, well, I mean, Algorand, we do want Algorand to win, but then he was realistic and was just like, but in reality, there will probably be a dozen or 2 dozen chains that, end up being good or great at certain things, but, not a winner take all system. So I did find it a little funny that, right off the bat, he was like, well, we are here to win, but realistically, it still will probably be a multi-chain world.
Yeah. And even there, I was like, I remember I was in Stockmo's Discord back when I first started my channel, and there was a comment that when Stockmo made it about, like, he made a comment that, like, there are probably only going to be maybe 10, 20, chains that really survive. And a lot of people just got on him like, what is this? You're always so bullish about the ecosystem exploding and going to the moon and everything being great. But I feel like that's blockchains. There's still going to be other, things built on the blockchains, just like Ethereum. It's not like it's just going to be ETH. There's still going to be other things and other cryptos that are still going to make it. But as far as, like, I feel like layer one blockchains are the main components at the base level, there's not going to be thousands of them like, you're seeing pop up every day. It is going to get trimmed to the ones that are actually, going to be
like,
for the long haul.
Internet browsers, we use probably about 4 or 5 main internet browsers, but we're all using the internet. But just, I'm more of a Google Chrome person, but I do rock with Safari here and there, and then they got Brave browser that's coming up. So I feel like blockchains will be similar.
There's a great writer in the space. I forget her name, but she often, and I do like this analogy. It's not perfect, but I like it a lot. She often refers to blockchains as separate nation states. And when you start to look at them that way, and the people within and that operate within those nation states are trying to do what's best for their local ecosystem and their economy, but they also need to be willing to interact with other nation states around them. They can't just be completely siloed off and, like, build this crazy wall up and not interact with the rest of the world. And it's a really interesting way to look at it. I wish I could remember her name because she's really one of the best writers in the space.
Yep.
On that note, though, what do we have next on the agenda? Governance debate. Governance debate. What do you guys think about the ongoing conversation about governance right now? There's a lot of discussion on, switching the rewards around to incentivize more, DeFi use, more node running, and things like that. What do you guys think?
Well, off the top, I've been watching some of the threads. I think you were in some, JT. I've researched myself. I always like, a different participation with the government. Governance is cool participation, but I think it should spread into we talked about node runners should get them. People who use DeFi should be rewarded, and which I could see a possibility that our governance would thin out. Right now, we're getting about 7%. But I do think the participation should not just be fully in participating in governance. And I want to say shout out to AlgoFi. It does help that I have vaulted my governance bag.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a great idea. But yes, I think node run or nodes like what David did, he should be rewarded for helping expand the network.
Yeah, I'm obviously more. I think that node runners should be. There is the that does it sounds enticing, but I feel like I've heard SILVIO and even Paul Regal kind of talk a couple times about why they don't reward node runners, and I do still agree with that aspect of like it really does then bring the people who are securing the network by running a node. It brings honest people into run help the system and help keep it secure, because when you start paying these people, that's where you can start trying to see some people all right, well, I'm just gonna in the case of Bitcoin, I'm just gonna flood all my money to make sure I have the most sophisticated machine to try to solve each block. And I know that there's more parameters in place for Algorand to where that doesn't happen, and centralization can't really occur as easy. But I do think that it maybe not so much as node runners, but or even if they do, it's not the most substantial amount. And then
a tiny amount, yeah.
Yeah, and then I do like the idea of DeFi getting more rewards, and even Stacy. I feel like
I think that's where the
see.
emphasis really is right now on the DeFi rewards, and in that aspect of it, I do agree that there's more of a debate around node running, and that is still up for debate, and I'm welcome to hear more about it. But I do think it's like almost indisputable that governance, as it stands, is competing with DeFi, and it really shouldn't be competing with it.
I mean, think before
the reason I got to Algorand was the passive income that was going directly to my wallet. That was the initial thing that caught my attention. And even if we got 1% back or 2% directly to my wallet, I feel like that would change the game.
Yeah, and even think about before the Aeneas rewards were put onto protocols like AlgoFi and now all the other ones. It was you weren't really that enticed to really put all of your money or your algos or any of your other things staked on those platforms, because the rewards were so small starting out. And then you look over at governance, and the APY, obviously the first one was like what, 18%. So it was more bullish to just, or more a smarter idea to put your money in governance and not have it in any of the DeFi protocols. And then you obviously had the Aeneas rewards come out, which made it more enticing. And then obviously just with more people becoming governors, that APY kind of came down. But I think in that one thread we both were talking about, JT, on Twitter, is just saying that it's not going to be able to compete with 7, 10, 15% for the longevity of it if especially once things like the Aeneas rewards and whatnot go away. So I do think it would be more beneficial for those rewards to be given out to, kind of like they've said, node runners, DeFi participants, and things like that.
Yeah, I'll agree that the community rewards, like those participation rewards, are what brought me in, but I don't agree with bringing them back in the short term, because right now it seems like the emphasis, which I agree on, I mean, how it plays out is yet to be seen, but I agree that the emphasis should be more on active participation and less on passive participation because giving back participation rewards or even governance rewards as it stands is rewarding the passive holders, which doesn't help out it doesn't help out the transaction volume. It doesn't help out the velocity of money. It doesn't help out the TVL. So right now, I think it's ideal to put the emphasis on DeFi and growing the DeFi ecosystem. And people also have to be aware that none of these decisions have to be permanent. That's like the beauty of governance is it could be temporary. We could do this, we could switch it up for 2 or 3 periods just to boost up DeFi. Once DeFi's boosted up and we've moved up a couple places in market cap and things are looking great for our ecosystem, we can then vote to move things back to a passive way of rewarding people. Nothing has to be set in stone. So I do think that at least for the near term, I do think an emphasis on growing the DeFi ecosystem and incentivizing people to participate in this ecosystem is a good idea.
Yeah, see, that's
the Aeneas rewards will be over. Or no,
I think it was June, sometime in June.
I'm not sure. I also think it's slightly different for each protocol depending on like how they're spending it, because some of them are like spending it quicker into the ecosystem and some are a little slower. So
I feel like PacFi is giving a lot out, which I love. I love it now because I moved some money over there.
Yeah, PacFi is great. I've used PacFi a couple times. I moved almost all my money back to AlgoFi just for those LP farms, really the Go BTC and the stable ones. I just want to earn more stable and Go BTC and Algorand, but
makes sense. Yeah,
I've seen some of the people in the Algorand community on Twitter and whatnot just saying like, with the foundation's quick move, I guess, with maybe wanting to pivot on the rewards and stuff like that. That some people say that like it's weakness, or it's like, they don't really know, they're just making it up as they go or whatever it is. But like realistically, you kind of made a good point there that like with governance, it's okay to like put different things up to vote and evolve.
That's
just
the
like
whole point of it.
Silvio.
It's literally the entire point of governance is to have discussions and debates about things and vote on them. And the other thing is this didn't come out of left field. There's been a lot of chatter about this in the community. I mean, maybe not parts of the community that some people are in, so it might be new to them, but this isn't new. Like, in my opinion, this shows that they're actually listening to some parts of the community and are bringing things up to, for the discussion. Because the community brought it to their attention. I've even mentioned well before they brought this up that it could be a good idea to scrap governance altogether and move to a whole different style of doing things. And that was probably only 3 or 4 weeks ago that I said. So they're not the only ones thinking about how they can revamp this rewards distribution to not compete with DeFi.
Yeah.
We need DeFi to win. We need our TVL up. For sure.
And it's had such a good year that like, it's kind of like Stacy said, that's the next thing that they're eyeing is getting that TVL up, because that's going to also bring bigger eyes from bigger investors. I mean, we already have some of the biggest ones, I feel like, with, Arrington, XRP Capital. I
said Damian Brown.
Yes, right. Scaramucci and other guys. I mean, he's a whale right there. Good friends to have. But, that is the next step, is getting that TVL up, having more protocols come in. So when people come into the ecosystem, there's tons of different options available. Multiple, new things are being built. But I also still think that, there's more foundation that has to be built out with things like Algoracle, C3 protocol.
We need another lofty type platform for.
I really can't. I agree with that. More like real world use cases, but I can't wait for Algoracle really, because that'll help onboard a lot of real world use cases. I mean, a lot of real world use cases need
break that one down a little bit. Is it like Chainlink?
Essentially, yeah. So Algorand is very much so lacking in Oracle, and what oracles do, blockchains are really good with aggregating data that's on chain. That all the data that's on chain, really good about creating a great ledger that's transparent. But it's not good at figuring out what data is off chain in the real world. That's where oracles come in to provide a reliable source of information from the real world, whether it be like, scores from a basketball game so a sports betting thing can happen or what have you. That information has to come from somewhere else and make its way on chain. And that's where oracles come into play. So you can imagine there's a lot that can be done and built out once there's an active oracle system that's bringing reliable off-chain data on-chain.
Yep.
See, what I was hyped about Chainlink around this time last year, they were talking about their climate initiatives, I guess, where you could, Zach, what you described, JT, you can plug in real world climate information and see who's actually producing the carbon emissions like more on point to bring it on chain. And so yes, that does make a lot of sense. And Algorand needs that, especially as a carbon neutral blockchain. We got to track these big corporations
You know,
better.
I interviewed the guy from Algoracle months ago, and I forget if he gave a timeline or not, but I'd like to check in with him and see, um,
Yeah, we
you
should
see,
do that. Bring him
see
on
how
the
things are
show.
going.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys think about the market more broadly, anyway?
Oh man, so like again, I was like haven't looked at the market for a while, and some of the other plays are in were in the red, and that did not make me feel good. But which I always like though is that Bitcoin stayed solid, so that's always a big sign for me. I'm always talking about Bitcoin, but it definitely held up more than a lot of these stocks and other cryptos. That's what my review on the market.
Yeah, I still am in the camp that, and obviously I could be, very wrong. So, this is not financial advice right here, but I'm still kind of in the camp that we see some form of, whether it's a relief rally, or something during the summer months before maybe a bigger, fall, come the end of the year possibly, and then it kind of could be a longer bear market before we continually go up. But I'm still expecting a nice bounce to come. Obviously, I know May historically is not a great month.
Yep.
So maybe this is the outlier. Maybe we will see a decent run. I mean, obviously on the news, Algorand had a nice pump from the 58, upper 58-cent range all the way to like 73 cents. And then, it kind of was sitting in, right above 70 cents for a while. And obviously this morning or today, it's dropped all the way back down to, 62 cents was the low. So, the news is great, but obviously it's not enough to, with the macro conditions we're seeing, and the dollar just keeps pumping like we saw today. It's like it's not enough to beat that. But I will say the foundation it's already laid for enough people, or new people are getting into it, and the excitement's growing, that if the macro headwinds reverse even slightly, even if the dollar starts to weaken and loose for a month or a month and a half and it goes on a slide, I think that's enough for Bitcoin to see a pump all the way to something like 50K, which maybe we could see Algorand have a pump up to like $1.50. I'm not saying we're going to see new all-time highs, but I could see some type of relief rally up, and I also want to warn people here, if something like this were to happen, this is also where people might get too excited, right? And think that this is going to be a blow off top, and you're going to have all the heads, like, all the pumpers. I mean, hell, I might maybe even be one of them, but you're going to have people saying that like this thing's going to the moon and we're going to be high-fiving and everything's going to be joyous. And you just got to remember not to over leverage yourself on something like that. Because if you do that, then on the way back down, it could be such a quick and rapid descent that a lot of people get liquidated and get turned off to the market. So you just got to be smart.
What goes up must come down.
Right. You just got to be smart that if you're watching it, remember to take profit. Don't get too greedy if we see some green, because, keep your moon bag, but, remember to stay smart when it comes to, your overall portfolio and how much is in, risky assets when the market's going crazy.
Have you been buying into this shitcoin over here?
What is it?
Actually, yes. I've been buying in. It's been losing value ever since.
No, this is the dollar. I'm just joking, but well, I guess maybe I'm not. Who knows?
Yeah, that's why I'm joking. I knew it was a dollar.
But yeah, regardless, it really, my eyes are really just on the strength of the dollar. See here, this red line here is a macro top from the last, I think like 2017 is where this line is, or maybe it goes back a little further than that. And we bounced off of it pretty perfectly. I actually think this line goes back pretty farther than that. But regardless, I thought we were heading back down. We had this crazy slump right here over the last couple of days, and then the dollar just back to all-time highs. So I mean, that's part of the reason the crypto market's down today. In
So
my
what
opinion,
this means is that people are basically getting into cash. Is that what we're saying?
not necessarily.
Zoom out a little bit there, JT. So show them like the bigger picture, maybe on a different candle, like like a day candle. Show them kind of what it looks like from, if you zoom out. Yeah, there we go.
We were on this crazy channel since May of last year, which we broke out of right here.
Is that the quantitative easing?
Actually, the opposite. We've been in quantitative tightening lately, which is pretty much the Federal Reserve is selling the assets on its balance sheet now. Well, they're going to start quantitative tightening in June, I think. So technically, this might be QE still, but no. Regardless, the dollar strength is more so based on the back of the global macroeconomic conditions. I mean, you'd think about Turkey. I believe they just announced they had like 69% inflation.
Yeah,
Uh,
they're doing bad.
yeah, and rate hikes alone, they actually strengthen the dollar too. They actually strengthen the dollar as well in the kind of this weird sense. So in reality, even though inflation is hurting us, in a global situation like this, the global dollar still seems like a reasonable place to park your money for all sorts of different nation states. And there's actually, as this is actually kind of a fucked up thing. Sorry, pardon my language, but like it's kind of a messed up thing of us raising interest rates so much is it actually increases the costs of other countries' debts.
Borrowing. Yep.
So,
Hmm.
say a smaller country that's already relatively broke has a bunch of dollar denominated debt. The interest rate keeps on going up on their debt, which means there could be defaults of these other countries. So there is actually like a rapid rate of people trying or countries trying to repay that debt before the interest rates go up so much. So
That makes
there is
sense.
actually a case of nation states switching their currencies over to the dollar to repay some of those debts.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we think we're getting rocked right now. Imagine if
Oh, the
you like,
world's getting rocked.
yeah,
This
the whole
honestly,
world.
it's not good. It's really not good for anybody. But like on the other hand, if they didn't try to start raising interest rates, there's an argument that we could have worse runaway inflation. So like, it's a tightrope to walk. Honestly, neither scenario is good. I mean, runaway inflation's not good, but like
Oh,
rate hikes aren't good. So I don't know. Pick your poison, I guess.
what's another currency that you'll be interested in buying other than the dollar?
Phew, algo. I don't know.
Right.
I
Nothing.
Bitcoin.
mean, no. In reality, gold seems actually more attractive than people want to admit.
Okay.
I don't know how people feel about that, but I would actually like to have some gold access on Algorand, and hopefully Algo Mint and Meld Gold can make that happen sooner than later.
Yeah, that'd be cool to have something like a Lofty AI, but a gold type thing where you can invest in it there, and obviously not like a receiving daily payouts, but just a way to get into it
Or
with
yeah.
using algo and using crypto.
Oh, it'd be super easy to tokenize for them to tokenize gold. They just have to
Yeah,
do it. But then you just really, I mean, I'm sure there's legal hurdles to it, but the actual act of doing it really wouldn't be too difficult. The only thing you'd have is that counterparty risk where you aren't holding your gold. You're just holding a token that represents gold in somebody else's vault.
yeah,
But I mean, it is what it is.
So I got
yeah.
a question for y'all. A couple of people, sending me DMs. Two things. This is about the Algorand ecosystem. Where you consider your best yields right now? Passive income.
Best yields are different than responsible yields. I
Well,
guess I should
two
say.
part question. Best and or with responsibility on their volatility and whatnot. Because
Oh,
they asked
perfect.
me AlgoFi, or excuse me, not AlgoFi, but Lofty, and I'm trying to also give people more information rather than just Lofty. Lofty is great, but you're illiquid and you get about 6, 7, 8%. What else we got besides Lofty?
I mean, I could give everybody exactly what I'm doing, but I don't want to. I don't want it to seem
That
like
sounds
it's.
complicated already.
Yeah, I don't want it to seem like it's like an endorsement that everybody should try this strategy.
So
But
we'll say no financial advice. This is just an opinion based thing.
yeah, so basically everything I'm doing is, I'm earning passive income through Lofty. I am participating in governance through AlgoFi and Folks Finance. For a while, this program just ended, but for a while I was pairing my algo and my G algo that I got from Folks
Yep.
Finance into a liquidity pool at Tiny Man. I was earning a good amount of money there, but that ended. So
10% on that one. Yeah.
yeah, currently I have Algorand supplied as collateral on AlgoFi, earning about 3.5%. I have USDC on AlgoFi supplied, earning about 10% just as collateral. And then I am farming the Go BTC stable pair on AlgoFi for about 18%, the Go ETH and stable pair for about 26%. I am
Okay.
staking my Opulus for about 12% on AlgoFi, and the last but not least, I'm staking my XCT on Yieldy for like 20%.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, David?
Mostly me. I mean, obviously, I know that there's huge yields still on Yieldly, I believe, for some of the things, for some of the tokens that are out there. I'm not on Yieldly currently. I'm primarily in AlgoFi. I have mine in their vault for governance, and also I have supplied stable USDC, Algo. I also have my DFly and my Opulus staked there. So I like AlgoFi. Obviously, I use Lofty. I see someone
Oh
says,
yeah,
"How hard
I
is it
forgot to
doing
mention my
taxes?"
DeFi.
But with Lofty, it wasn't very hard. I will say they did get their, they did get their all
K9 or
their
K1, I think.
documents out super late. So like, I
I
didn't
didn't
do it
file
this year,
mine.
but as far as what it would be to do it, it doesn't seem like it would be that difficult as long as you get all of the right
Yeah,
forms.
yeah.
Um,
Comparatively, it's a million times easier than your crypto taxes. Like
yeah,
it would be an additional step than just like your normal wage job, of course, but it is nothing like a million DeFi transactions. That's for sure.
yeah.
Okay,
I will
so
say this as well is the when it comes to Lofty, it is kind of important to consider that if you're like someone who wants to buy like one token on every single property that they have, like then you're gonna have a lot of forms to fill out, because you have to fill out a form for each property. I'm pretty sure. So that's something that maybe to consider when you're buying properties is maybe obviously diversifying is good on different properties, but the more properties you hold tokens on, the more confusing that could get.
I mean, you can
Um,
bring those forms to H&R Block. You don't have
I was
to
about to say
go through the
my
headache, or
comment.
or find
yeah,
it, or
pay them
find
to
an
do
even
it.
better accountant. But like even
I would
H&R
say
Block can handle those forms.
do not use TurboTax. They got a case going on right now where
Yeah,
they basically rob the
yeah. Go sit
people.
down with somebody.
Sit down with a physical person and pay them, that $500 to $1,000. They'll get you right. That's my advice on there. But the
Yep.
second thing was that I wanted to say people are DMing me about Choice Coin, and I want to bring up what the comment was saying, Nerd and Citrus. So what y'all thinking about Choice? And they're not all the same, but Choice, Nerd, and Citrus.
Yeah, and I
Choice.
hold on. I want to get to this comment too because, uh, we weren't like ignoring it for like any reason. We have an hour here and we had a bunch of things we wanted to get to. I've had Nerd on my channel. I've had Citrus on my channel. We've spoken to them. I think it's a great idea. If anyone hasn't checked out that interview, definitely check it out. But yeah, no, it is a great idea. I don't know how many projects are onboarding through them yet, but anybody that's working towards helping to make sure we reduce the amount of rugs in the ecosystem, I'm for.
Heck
Yeah,
yeah.
same. I agree. I had Nerd on my channel, Monty Allen. I honestly I like how he makes his moves, but
Yeah, I
no, I
love
do
Monty.
not invest in the token. No, but I do like how they're adding utilities and things of that nature to their ecosystem. And
Yeah.
then two, Citrus, I believe, just like Algo DAO and things of that nature. What JT said, we need more projects that are vetting, and one or two is all right. We need three, four, five, possibly. So
Yeah.
I
I
shout
would.
out to the nerd team.
Yeah, for me, it's like there's so many ASAs out there. For me, it's just especially because there's been rugs. I've thankfully only been really a part of one of them, but I don't like it's a risk basis thing for me. It's how much risk, even like things like Opulus and Yieldly. I mean, there's even though they look good and they have great products, there's still a lot of risk that you're
There's a lot
taking.
of
Even
downside.
AlgoFi. I mean, just don't use AlgoFi and think that it's perfect just because we use it. Like there's still risk there. There's risk in so many platforms and things that are being built, especially being this early. But no, it's not a like a conflict. He said, it's not a conflict of interest. We're all YouTubers. I think we're actually all going to try to plan a video thing together, us three with Crypto Nerd and even the Recoup. We love each other all on social media and want to see nothing more. I feel like than everybody's channels growing, and I feel like it will.
Yeah, and then Citrus, yes, it is a launch pad, but from my understanding, launch pads usually are less likely to be a rug because they're with an organization that's helping them launch their token.
Yeah.
That's
So
my
unless the launch pads scam
or
me as
yeah.
well, then
Then so my second thing was people DMing me about Choice Coin. I have my opinion. I again or haven't invested in the token. I used to farm it on Yieldly, but Choice Coin and like Nerd, shout out to them, are not like tokens I'm honestly looking for at this moment. But in terms of what they're doing for their projects, I do like that ChoiceCoin is doing the voting infrastructure, and they just did a vote with Yieldly. Anybody know about how that vote went out? You and Monty. Yeah, that shows love right there.
I
New
did.
York
I saw the vote that they did with Yoli, so I think it's cool. But again, like I just don't know. Longevity wise, I would rather hold and in certain cryptos that I'm in, mainly Algo. I have a few other smaller ones, but I like having my biggest bags in ones that are I feel that have the biggest potential, and then obviously I spread a little bit out. But I don't hold any choice coin, and I don't do a ton of research on them just because. I feel like, they could moon, but I'm not going to take that risk.
No, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
and
a
Citrus
lower risk right now.
isn't exactly a launch pad. They're working with a launch pad, which is the Algo Fund or whatever it is that they launched. They have a staking pool on there as well, but they are more of like an information database sort of. So their goal
Yeah.
is basically to bring reliable information to the ecosystem. Yeah, so Citrus is a solution as a one-stop shop for all Algorand data and communication between the community and key holders. It is an information hub that integrates with the blockchain to track data on projects and team members. We aggregate project information directly from one source into one easy-to-navigate user interface and offer project managers the tools they need to engage the community about their work. So, I mean, it's in a fancy way of saying they're trying to be a centralized hub so you can learn about all of these different projects and actually be like relatively confident that they're not rug pulls, or at least the ones that they give information
So
about.
they're providing information for your education.
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure. Let's jump into just to wind out here. Some other news and reasons to be bullish. We got the KD news with or Kevin Durant. I won't say KD because people may not know him. Basketball player for the Brooklyn Nets. Obviously, I would say one of the biggest names in the NBA right now. Outside of maybe like Giannis and LeBron, but Kevin Durant, obviously, he owned. 35 Ventures or 35 Ventures is the name.
Ventures. He's a partner, one of the main partners in 35 Ventures, and they bought a minority stake of Gotham FC, which is the team Algorand has sponsored.
Yeah, JT, if you can pull up that visual of
KD like this,
KD holding that jersey. I mean, and that's the thing. Like
Kevin
this
Durant,
isn't
big news for the NBA.
Yeah, Kevin Durant's not partnering with Algorand, so this doesn't directly affect Algorand in any way, really, other than the fact that for some people, they may see this visual and say, oh wow, KD, he's holding up an a jersey with Algorand's name on it. So that's the cool part. I just thought that was some bullish news to see as far as just from a visuals standpoint, but also maybe there is a deeper meaning there. Obviously, he doesn't have to tell all of his investments, so maybe he does hold.
He got a lot of good investments. Like he was in early on Postmates, and now he's in on Gotham FC. I think he got in on Uber, possibly Kraken as well. Like they getting busy out there because remember when he was out there in Golden State, they were right down the street from Silicon Valley, and they recruited people like Stephen Curry because of their fame to also being investors in these projects, which brings out a nice urban and sports market. So I think it is great to have Kevin Durant holding up that jersey.
Hey, the more exposure, the better. In reality,
I know that's the crazy thing is there has been so much exposure just the past few weeks with so many big names partnering or saying they're going to use Algorand or even just in a kind of a backward behind the doorway with Kevin Durant investing in Gotham FC.
Yeah, I can't wait whether it's this year, next year, the year after. It could be a while, but I really can't wait for the next bull run. I think it's going to be it's going to be very exciting for this ecosystem.
I need to wait till next year. I need to people
build those
bags. I got to build my bag.
We're reaching the end here, but I do just want to comment on this last comment that IE said. Why do they need a token? Essentially, it's like, I guess the idea behind it is just to reward people for various different initiatives. Because I know they're going to be, actually, I really don't know for certain, but I think it's mostly just to reward people for, whether it's like information they find or provide on certain projects or what have you. I don't know. It's basically in my understanding, I could be wrong, I don't speak for the project, but in my understanding, it's a rewards token. However, this question is a really important and deep question that you could actually start to ask about a lot of projects. I mean, in reality, there's a lot of projects out there that I look at and I go, you don't really need a token. I mean, there's you look at like Lofty AI and AlgoFi and Folks Finance and things like that. They are going to come out with a governance token likely in the future, but they're running a perfectly successful operation, providing great service to the ecosystem with no need for a token. So
Yeah.
it is true that a lot of projects actually don't need a token.
Yeah.
I
So
always say that a lot of projects should literally just adopt USDC or adopt Algo and just help blow the ecosystem up. Because it is, for me, in my opinion, a waste of time for a lot of the projects that you just named to try to even have a token.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I get why
Doesn't make
to
sense.
to some degree it is kind of crowdfunding.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
so
what you don't like.
you know, if you're trying to create a project and you don't have access to good investors because you're just like a random nobody and you don't have connections, maybe you're not a people person, but you have this great idea and you know how to build it. You know, one way to fund your operation is through tokenization. You know, you could, you know, sell 50% of your tokens to the public and then use that money to, you know, fund your operations essentially. So I understand why it's done, but you just have to be careful because yeah, it is true that there's a lot of tokens that at least currently in their current iteration, in my opinion, don't really do much.
Yeah, because in the bear market, when you look at, I call Algorand the number one, right? And then all the number two tokens, which is like everything else, they have a bigger downside, right? But during a bear run, you can get a lot of multiple X's out of these other, alternative to Algorand tokens. So that's something to consider. And right now, we're kind of in a bearish market. So I would say protect yourselves with these tokens.
Yes.
That's what I
Yeah,
will
yeah,
say.
yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, I mean, it is true that a lot of these tokens are like a $10 million project, and if it went to like $1 billion market cap, that's a huge multiple. But it
Yes.
is also true that those $10 million tokens can also just as easily go to zero.
Yeah, they can
So
go to
Buy
100,000.
them a nice Bentley and a couple other things and a
Uh,
plane ticket to Fiji or
I
something.
was about to say the
I want to
Brazil
end with a couple other things. They said FIFA World Cup. One of the commenters said FIFA World Cup will be held in North America in 2026. That's true. Would be awesome if Algorand retained this partnership until then for more exposure. And
technical partnership. So I think it'd be hard to be in and out.
yeah, I do think. I mean, and going on that point, FIFA has not added a sponsor since like what 2011, I believe, is what the article said. So like
10
they
years.
they're I feel like I feel like they're not choosing this partnership lightly, just like the other ones that are listed on there, are like Coca-Cola, and Adidas and other big names. Like this is going to be a partnership that you're going to see bloom into a much
yeah,
bigger thing, especially as Algorand continues to pick up steam. I mean, I know we won't have time to really talk about it a lot, but even smaller partnerships, Australian Zoo partners with Algorand for its NFT project. Like you're going to see tons of, small things, big things start to use blockchains. And
They
so it's going to be,
Crypto.com partnered with FIFA as well for a North American sponsor, and I think that's
yeah,
big.
yeah, so there's going to be lots of huge things for Algorand in the future, and I do agree. I hope they retain that partnership, but I think they will. I don't think this would be a one and done thing,
yeah.
unless obviously something terrible happens to the Algorand blockchain.
And my understanding from everything I've read and from what I've watched is that this partnership is really a twofold partnership. So you have the one side of it, which is basically just like for exposure, to get the name out there, have your name be on all sorts of FIFA related things. And then there's the technical side of it. So the exposure side of it could last until 2026. I believe it will. But the technical side of it, I think, is going to last for quite some time. And if you listen to the way the president of FIFA was speaking, he was looking for something that can withstand, decades worth of longevity. So I think this is a very long technical partnership. I mean, it's yet to be seen, or at least I don't know exactly. I'm sure somebody does, but it's yet to be seen how long the exposure on the name itself, like how long they'll be flashing Algorand logos everywhere. I hope it's until 2026 because that'd be awesome to see it at the
Yeah.
North American World Cup. But the technical partnership, I could see that going on for decades.
You know what I also see happening is a snowball effect, because now you're like, shit, FIFA has worked with them. Why wouldn't my company?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
That's
Yep.
something
Oh,
I'm seeing
and
too.
and honestly, FIFA people, people in this country in the United States have don't really understand how big soccer is and don't really understand how big FIFA is. FIFA has more nations inside of it than
The UN.
Yeah, than the UN, which is insane. It's
Yeah.
one of the biggest organizations. In fact, it might actually be the biggest organization in the world. It is.
Figure
This
it's
isn't a
other than the
small
church.
partnership, and if you think that the largest organization in the world didn't do their due diligence, and this isn't going to give Algorand a lot of respect on the world stage, there's a lot of people that might have never even been interested in blockchain, but love FIFA or really respect the organization because of how absolutely gigantic and influential it is, that are now looking at Algorand with the a different picture.
To check
Yeah.
this out, I was pulling up the statistics in one of my videos, but you got Southeast Asia, Africa, North America. You can basically name every continent in the world, and they're supporting soccer first as a sport.
Yeah.
That is the most easiest sport to get to in globally. You don't need like a whole football stadium. You don't need all this stuff, football and basketball. You need a lot. That's more
Yeah.
of a developed nation thing. In some countries, all you need is a bag and a goal, maybe not even a goal post, so you can play soccer for hours.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely one of the biggest partnerships I've seen, since I've been in crypto and been following the space. So I just, it's super bullish. Obviously super excited. I had to get out a more detailed video out and try to, show that to hopefully, get some more attention out there, for YouTubers to pick up on Algorand. Cause I do think that, even if we do see maybe a small relief bounce, even if it doesn't come and 2022 just, sucks all the way until the end, at some point it's going to end. At some point it's going to flip and go bullish. And when it does, look out. And the thing is, like, it's still not even done. Can y'all imagine, like, Stacey Warden and Kelly have said that there's so much, marketing that's going to be coming, and they keep saying Algo Summer and things like that. It's like, we're just, I think, scratching the surface of still what they have planned and partnerships. And so I'm sure there's still going to be plenty of other big things that we're going to be talking about on this show. So make sure to tune in.
Yeah, I haven't seen Silvio speak this much and publicly before. So
Yeah, they're
he's killing it right now. So shout out to Silvio.
Yeah, they're doing a great job, and that's a great way to end the show. Really, if you liked everything you heard and you want to hear more of it, subscribe to all of our channels. You've got JT Invest in You, you've got Crypto for Change, you've got Passive Income Network.
Yep.
Give us all a subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Appreciate
See
you.
you.